picture around
Yeah,
out
good.
there.
Thank you, that's great. Yes.
I went to the antithesis of the one-room school. In all my school, I was never in a self-contained classroom. Even in kindergarten, we had a special teacher for reading, and then we took our pencils and we went across the hall to the special teacher for math. I went to a progressive school.
Very. Story, yes.
In the 40s, I'm exactly your age, my aunt was my teacher. And it was during the end of World War II, when we were near a military base. She had 56 kids in her class. And about 40 years later, when I was doing my graduate work, this professor was going on and on about small group instruction, large group instruction. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, where did you come from? She survived with all 56 of us, and we did, like she said, we did art, we did music, we did plays, we did our math, we had our little history, the 13 colonies. I can remember each little page, you know. But as you said, what goes around comes around. And now they think it's such a marvelous thing. Oh, they're reading up something new. But not really.
Right, just recycling the old ideas under a new name.
Yeah.
The other day I heard it on NPR, they were talking about cognitive and non-cognitive learning. And, you know, it's just exactly what I said. The 3 R's were the cognitive, and the non-cognitive were your moral and your character building. Just put a new name on it.
Kids, as you said, kids like consistency.
Yes.
And if you can give them that, then you don't want to.
That is right. Yes.
Anyone here go to Webster?
Oh, yes.
Anybody here have name Ashton? My God, you You remember the water bottle above across down the And then B as M, what were they used for that truck? We have 64 prepositions and I think 21 helping verbs.
I do. Any other
But you know
stories?
what?
Yes,
Yes,
We wouldn't be
right
here.
back.
This is not a story, it's a question. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the faculty, the teachers. You read, let me just been reading about Robert Frost, and one of the things he did in his late teens and early 20s was be a teacher. And his future wife was a teacher. His mother had been a teacher. And some of these teachers had only recently finished grammar school themselves. So I wonder what you could tell us about where the teachers came from, how much turnover there was.
Well, of course, as soon as if a woman got married, that was the end of your career, and you could possibly hide it, but you know, pregnancy is a little hard to hide. So, and God forbid you should stand in front of a class pregnant. That would have been a no-no right there. What I've read is that a lot of the men teachers were actually studying to be lawyers or doctors, and they were doing this as a interim kind of thing. You know, while they were studying, they were teaching. That's not true for all, but you don't really. Little House on the Prairie book is really good because that does show you that she, you know, the character there did, as you say, finish school herself, did not go to any teacher training program, and then just, and of course schools around here, I believe a lot of them started in someone's kitchen, and it could have been the mother or aunt or somebody like that doing it in the kitchen with a group of kids that lived in the area. That was some of the early, you know, education before there were actually schools built. I don't really, I mean, that is a very good question, but you know, teacher education did not happen right in the beginning. It was a while before, and I wish I could quote a date for the first normal school in Maine. But I will look, I will see you in class next week, and I will look that up, because I think I have it in my material.
The class she's referring to is at the senior.
Senior college. So you're not staying after
I went to a one-room schoolhouse in West Durham for 8 years, and with the same teacher. And she got her bachelor's degree 2 years after I did. So she was just plugging away for probably 20, 30 years.
That's interesting.
Someplace I've read that the women teachers were expected to be sort of a missionary too, and teach the gospel, and live outstanding lives, and set good examples, and good moral things. That was part of another reason why they were so badly paid, because obviously they didn't need much.
I think the idea that you could board around with your students really, you know, that made it possible to give them just a stipend rather than a salary, because you were getting board and room, and the money that you were earning, the cash, was just a, you know, you're spending money. Yeah.
My uncle was 8 years older than my father. And after my uncle finished his schooling, while my uncle was going to school, my father at age 4 would run away to go to school because he was bored at home. And the school was just a little ways down the road, and so he'd follow his older brother to school. The teacher came one lunchtime and talked to my grandmother and said, "Is it all right if Louis comes to school with Walter?" And my grandmother said, "It's fine with me if it's fine with you." And so my father actually started school when he was 4. And then later on, my uncle became a teacher. And by then my father was old enough that my grandfather would send my father to school to his brother so that he could help him hitch and unhitch the team, because the team was a little hard for one person to handle. And I always wonder how it felt to go to school to your brother.
Well, the fun part of this is learning as you go along. In other words, you read these tidbits. And a lot of the information that I have about education came from a course that the Norlands taught on early education. And that was a summer class that they gave, and it was very, very good. And it was, of course, it was focusing on Livermore, because that is where the Norlands is, but anything that happened in Livermore probably happened in most other communities in the area, so you could apply it. But of course, they have a school there and do a very good program also.
Just a comment, I'm kind of passing the book around, but it's the thread that runs so true, and that tells a lot about the teachers and how that the teacher, Jesse Stewart is the teacher, and how that he lied about his age, because he just get out of grade school and then he said he was like 17, yet he's 17, but he wasn't, and how it progressed, how the education progressed. But it is really fun to read that book, because he's a very good author. He's written a lot of others too.
See, I think a lot of the discipline problems came about because many of the boys were older than the teacher.
Yes.
And not all teachers had the creative thoughts that your teacher did. And they were victims of these older boys who really didn't want to be in school. And they could play a trick.
I'll point out that it can be the same way now. Or at least you become victims of kids because of this one is kind of a wow.
Unfortunately, we've given up power to the children. When you do that, you're
Many face things because of all the litigation and that part of it causes us now.
Very sad, I think. Any other stories or sharing or questions? Don't forget that we have these pictures here showing the condition that the school was in before they began to fix it. If you look at some of these, you can't believe that they could take that building and put it back to where it was. If anybody would ever like to see the building, my phone number has been in the paper a number of times. It's in here. It's also in here. If you would like to see the building, I don't live very far from the building. I'd be happy to give a tour. One of the fun things that happened recently was I got a request to have a bridal shower at the school. And the bride-to-be was a teacher, and her sister thought that the setting would be perfect. And it turned out very, very nice. We had a spelling bee, and I picked all words that would have to do like honeymoon and all the words that had to do with getting married and nuptials and things like that. And they had all their refreshments were in little canning jars, and the menu was written on slates, and it was just very, very nice. They put up a tent on the grass, and it was very nice. So I mean, the school is open to those ideas too. You know, if somebody has an event, because Amber said, you know, would you ever allow a wedding to take place here? And I said, I don't know why not. In other words, it just, you know, would be she said, I think this would be a fun place to have a wedding. So, yes, that's fine. I didn't know whether I should pass her or the books are up here for sale. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Donna. Folks, next month we'll be meeting on the 23rd of October, and our speaker will be Doug Hodgkin, who will be speaking on Civil War politics. We have a special program on the 27th. I'll be leading a tour of Mount Hope Cemetery, if you want to cross the river for a little bit. And with a Halloween theme as well. We'll do that there. I'm taking volunteers.